A lot of research has been done to show that there is a clear improvement in business performance when gender diversity exists in the workforce. There is a McKinsey report that shows that companies that have a broad diversity of business leaders, male and female, at the top levels actually outperform their counterparts. And also a study done by the Boston Consulting Group, BCG, showed that women-led startups actually outperform startups by men with over 10% more revenue. When we look at the energy sector, however, we see that there is still a clear gap in terms of women representation in the sector, where globally we see that women occupy less than 25% of the workforce of the energy sector. And this gap continues to expand as you go upward. Indeed, a male respondent to a global survey said, and I quote, "In my organization, women are like oxygen, less and less as you go upward." My name is Joe-Ezigbo, and today I want to speak to you about how you can retain your top female talent in the energy sector, especially understanding that it has a clear, tangible, positive impact on your business bottom line. Now, the first thing you need to do is this: make gender diversity a clear part of your recruitment strategy. In my organization, for instance, my people know that for every position we have advertised and available, we must bring a number of females to the table, as long as they are competent and qualified and have the requisite experience and capacity to fill that role. Make it a clear part of your recruitment strategy, and not just as a nice to have. Like I said, it impacts your bottom line. And in the world that we live in today, there is a huge focus on the diversity conversation, especially when you begin to position your business to bring in international investors, to take on international opportunities. It's important that you think it through, and that is part of a documented and approved, management-approved strategy for recruiting within your organization. The second thing you need to do is this: beyond the diversity conversation, please build in inclusiveness. I promise you that we women know the difference. So diversity is looking at the makeup of your organization, how many males and how many females you have. But when you begin to discuss inclusiveness, what you're doing is that you're trying to create an environment where these diverse talents can thrive. You're trying to look at not just hiring more women, but to create that ambience and that working atmosphere that allows them to bring their A game forward, that allows them to, put their best foot forward, gain experience, and be able to grow within the organizational hierarchy that you have. You don't just want to hire more women, but you literally want to create a culture where it is very clear that the organization values their contributions, believes they bring value to the table, where their leadership abilities can be nurtured and allowed to find expression. You also want to make sure that your policies and procedures, the opportunities that are available to everyone. If it becomes clear within the system that it is only the men who get promoted, who get to take on the robust, maybe international opportunities of some core technical opportunities, your women will know the difference. And I promise you, at a certain level, you're going to lose your best people. So pay attention not just to diversity, but also inclusiveness. Allow everybody to bring their best to the organization, and it has a direct positive impact on your bottom line. Women also come with a very strong work ethic. They're also quite loyal. And when we look at organizational stability, it's important to think about some of these metrics in deciding that diversity and inclusiveness is not just a nice to have, it's actually an imperative for business in today's world. The next thing you want to do is to ensure that you embed flexibility in the system, especially because women have multiple dependencies outside of their core work roles. I mean, think about it. For every man in an organization, he was born of a woman, nurtured of a woman, and right up to his maturing phase to now be a head of a home himself. So make sure there's flexibility in your system to accommodate some of these things. Now, one of the things that the pandemic has taught us in most of us finding ourselves having to move into a remote working setup, and that's still being prevalent even till today, is that not being in the office does not mean we're not productive. It has shown us that there is a different way to work and we can still deliver excellent results. What this means, therefore, is that a woman's having to attend to other elements of her family life, for instance, should not be looked down on. It should not be treated as her being less productive. A woman wanting to take on a flexible work routine that allows her to be more available to her other constituencies should not be looked at as something less than what a man does, insofar as she is capable, competent, as long as she continues to produce and as long as she continues to deliver excellent results. Speaking about flexibility, you also want to think about security in the world that we're in today, with the extent of violence against women and children. It's something you want to consider when you think about long working hours. You should be able to let your female employees leave on time if they need to, and they can continue to work online, as we all do so efficiently in today's world. Lastly, is to say on this same issue of flexibility, let's try to create a culture that doesn't make it look like a woman who is pregnant is suffering from some kind of disease that is a disaster for the organization. As a woman who drove herself to the hospital to have 2 of her babies, I can tell you that we have a lot of strength and capacity, even as pregnant as we are. So let's work within the context of our new realities and pay attention to how we empower women to still be fully present and available to the organization while taking cognizance of the many multiple dependencies that pull at them from different corners, and which sometimes are made to look as though they are then inefficient or less valuable to the organization. The last thing I would like to speak about is in terms of equitable pay. For you to be able to retain your key female talent in the energy sector, you have to pay attention to the issue of how equitable your pay is. I have had, conversations where I have seen and found that in some companies, even where the women are on the rig, where they are right there in the trenches with other engineers, because they are engineers themselves, they somehow are put on lower pay grades than the men. And this makes no sense, because they may give you value in terms of the work that they do, but the dissatisfaction will set in, and again, you're going to lose your key talent, which is not good for the business from a continuity point of view. So pay attention to how you dimension pay between male and female. Your pay should be such that everybody is compensated based on their experiences, based on their work responsibilities, and based on the job weighting within the organization. I think that's very important if you want to be sure that you not only attract, but you also retain the very best female talent within the energy sector. So these are just a few of the tips I thought I would share with you today about how you can retain your top female talent in the energy sector. What other tips do you know, have you used, or have you heard people in the sector use? Can you share them with me? It would be great for us to have a conversation to see how we help to reshape this narrative around female representation in the energy sector.